David. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our Get Ready for Your 1099s webinar. I'm Paris Prokopis. I'm the account manager here at MIG, and then doing a demo of the Greenshades product is John Culver. He's the territory manager at Greenshades. But before we begin, I would like to just take care of some housekeeping items here. If you can choose your microphone speakers and use voice over IP, or you can actually just dial in, and the dial-in information is provided in the telephone area, so you can do that. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to submit the questions throughout the presentation. If the question might be relevant to the subject matter in hand, I may interrupt with those questions earlier. Otherwise, we'll wait for a Q&A period after the presentation. So please feel free to use this dialog box to submit those. And our agenda for today, we're going to talk a little bit about MIG. That'll be real quick, and then we're going to get right into our presentation regarding 1099s. Tell you a little bit about Greenshades and who they are, their products and services, and all the year-end forms, and then there will be a live demo, followed, of course, by the Q&A for any questions you guys may have. So, real quick about MIG, we specialize in the implementation of financial and business management systems. Our solutions are Microsoft solutions. We deal with Microsoft GP, Microsoft SL, GRM, SharePoint, and business intelligence. We have over 15 years of experience in the business, and we're mainly focused mid-market to enterprise-level customers. So, we are a Microsoft Gold partner. We're a DVB accredited business. We're also a GSA approved vendor, and we also provide CPE credits for those of you that may be taking this webinar for CPE credit. So without further ado, I will turn this over to John Culver and with Greenshades. John, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Paris. How's everybody doing today? This is John with Greenshades Software. Glad everybody was able to make it out. We're going to be going over our e-file solutions today for the federal 1099 product, also talking a little bit about our year-end forms. A little bit of background about Greenshades. We're a company that was founded in 1992. When we were first starting off, we were a company that resold the Great Plains software before it was actually a Microsoft product and became Dynamics GP and Dynamics SL. In 1996, one of our clients came to us with a need to create one of these brand new magnetic media type format e-file returns, and there was no way to do this. So Greenshades started undertaking that development process to integrate with Dynamics GP payroll and payables to pull out the necessary information, extraction, and create the e-file reports in the proper formats. In 2002, we ditched that side of our business, and we focused specifically on the e-file creation and compliance tracking for all payroll tax reporting, 1099 reporting, and some other functions that have to do with Dynamics GP and SL. Today, we created solutions that range anywhere from payroll tax reporting, 1099 reporting, garnishments management. We even have an employee self-service portal and do an entire benefits enrollment Affordable Care Act tracking solution. So you can head to our website, Greenshades. We're going to be going to Greenshades Online right at the end of the e-file creation process. We're going to talk about how we do the distribution of the 1099 forms and the 1098Ts. We manage all types of 1099s, including the 1042S. So I'll give you an idea of how we can manage the individual vendor copies and also the e-file submission. Our W-2 piece is going to be managed the same exact way. So if you do happen to run payroll inside of Dynamics GP or SL, we can extract the necessary information to not only create the e-file that needs to be submitted to the Social Security Administration, but also create the electronic versions of the W-2s that need to be distributed to employees. If not all of the employees grab the electronic copies, we also have some additional services available, like our mail service. We mail over 1 million W-2s and 1099s every year, so you can ask us to mail any copies not received electronically. So now we're going to get into the live demo. I'm going to get my screen pulled up over here with my test workspace. Give me just a moment to do so. And you now should be being broadcasted a instance of Dynamics GP with my Greenshades Tax Filing Center open. This Tax Filing Center is installed directly into Dynamics GP, so once you have access to GP, you'll be able to use the Tax Filing Center. This is accessed through the main menu, so we're going to go to Tools, Routines. If you're running payroll in-house, you can access the Greenshades Tax Filing Center through there. If you're running purchasing, you can access the 1099s directly through here. Once we open up the Tax Filing Center, you'll see the options for creating the year-end form. So we do an extraction directly from the GP databases to our hosted solution for the creation of those year-end forms. Today we're going to be focusing on the e-file returns for now. Once we click on the e-file returns option over here, you're going to see a few types of reports that we have the ability to create, and these are going to be focused on when these are due throughout the year. So since we're talking about 1099s today, we're going to be focusing on the annual return option. Please keep in mind that we do support many other options, including 401k creation reports, SUTA reports, and any other payroll tax report that needs to be submitted to a jurisdiction. Once we click on the annual option, you're going to see a drop-down of types of forms that we have the ability to create. On the screen right now, we have the Affordable Care Act 1095-C report. We actually just pushed out an update a couple weeks ago that's going to include the ability to create this return, and also the 1095s that need to be distributed to the employees directly through the Tax Filing Center. So if you are a 1099 Greenshades customer, it's good news that you'll now have the ability to do this. We also have some other tools, so everybody's aware, for tracking Affordable Care Act compliance throughout the year. What we're going to do today, though, is work with this 1099. Once we pull up the 1099, which is the type of return we're looking to create, we'll choose the tax year we want to create the return for, and then the specific type of 1099. So you can see through our drop-down that all of these 1099s will be managed through the Tax Filing Center. We have some other options for managing different types of forms. For example, a 1042-S, we would be gathering information from an outside source. The next option that we have is asking us if we want to include multiple Dynamics GP companies on a single return. So if we do click this option and go to the next screen, you can see that we have multiple databases where we have information stored for reporting purposes. What we're going to do is choose which ones we want included and then choose which ones we want to be the submitter for. So if you have multiple databases that you're rolling up to one file for reporting purposes, our service or our software will handle all of that. So what I'm going to do for the demo purposes is unclick that option. We'll continue through, and this is what our next screen would look like in the e-file process. So what we're doing is pulling company information directly from your GP environment. All of our options and all of the steps in this process will give you the ability to make edits to any of this data. So if you need to do so before submission, you can make edits directly in our software. On the next screen, we're going to ask how you want these vendor names to be formatted and if some or all of the 1099 information is stored in Dynamics GP. So if none of our information is stored in GP, we're going to click No here and be presented with some other options for importing that data. On the next screen, as long as I click Yes here, I will have the option to merge data from an outside system. So as long as we have a little bit or some of our 1099 data in GP or SL, you'll have this option clicked Yes right here. This next step is going to ask us where we want to pull the vendor name from. Most of the time we're going to see vendor name for line 1 and the alternate name or DBA as none. However, we give you multiple options on how you want to pull this. So if I click this show example and we have vendor name pulled up, nothing for option 2, this is the list that we would see. If we did come in here and say we wanted to choose contact for the alternate name, this is how we would pull these details from the Dynamics environment. So for the demo purposes, we're going to keep this on vendor name for official vendor name and none for alternate. And on the next screen right here, we do have the ability to import information from any other system. So if you're using, for example, a QuickBooks environment and you store 1099 information in there, we do give you the ability to upload that information to our system. It's going to be uploaded in the form of an Excel file. So if we click that link, this Excel file would be generated. Very simple to fill out. Each column is going to represent a box on the 1099 form. Once this is filled out, we would save it locally and then upload it right back into the Tax Filing Center by clicking here to import. And then all of that information would be combined for one file that's being sent to the IRS. So next step here is going to just give us a couple options. If we're coming through the Tax Filing Center to create corrected forms, we'll have this option clicked off right here. If we want to include any of the vendors that fall under the minimum payment threshold of $600, we can do so here. And we also have the option to merge or roll up vendors with the same TIN. So if you have two entries and two of those entries have the same TIN, we can roll them up into one entry for e-file purposes. On the next page, we're doing some processing. What we're doing right here is looking at the information that we found in your system and giving you what types of returns we're going to be creating from that data. So if we have multiple returns or multiple databases that we were creating returns for, we would have multiple build options at this point. What I'm going to do here is choose the build option. And I'm also going to click this option down here because we do have an advanced editor for all of our tax filing software. So before this file is actually being submitted to the IRS or the jurisdiction where it's being submitted, we have the option to make any changes to that data or fix anything with that data. So on the next screen, we're going to be shown the advanced editor. If the advanced editor pops up just like this, we're going to assume that there are no errors in the formatting of our data. So inside the Tax Filing Center, we do make sure that all of the fields are properly formatted. So for example, if we caught a TIN that only had 6 numbers in it, or if we saw a state that didn't fall into any of the 52 state codes that we have available to us, we would throw up a red flag. There isn't going to be any actual TIN verification taking place here. However, we do have options for that when working with the individual 1099 reports. This is, though, going to throw up any red flags if we see any formatting errors. If we do see any formatting errors, we can come in here and make any edits to this data that we need to before the actual e-file is created and submitted to the IRS. Once we've completed this, we can log out. And we'll give the tax filing the center a second here to build this e-file. Now we found that this e-file is built, and we'll begin the submission process. So with the Tax Filing Center, all of our federal reports do have an option to have these files submitted directly to the reporting agency. So once we go through the build file and we apply all of the rules that we just went through in that step-by-step wizard, we're now going to have the ability to get this submitted directly to the IRS. So we can pull up the details of this 1099 report. We can print these totals. We can save these totals. And we'll also have an overview of the details for this file. So it's going to let us know how many vendors and all of the combined information for the boxes that are going to be reported on. On the next screen over here, we give you the option to manually file these returns or e-file them automatically. So when filing in a 1099 report to the IRS, there's something required called a TCC, which is a transmittal control code. If you currently have a transmittal control code for your organization, you can manually file that return using your own TCC. If not, you can simply use the TCC that we have on file. I think a majority of our clients use our TCC simply because it alleviates you from having to go through the registration process for one of those, and everything can be sent directly to the IRS from the Tax Filing Center. Keep in mind that you designate a contact email address for all communication coming back from the IRS, so even though you're using our TCC, all communications will be coming directly to you. So the next screen over here is going to ask us to save this return. We'll save this somewhere locally so we have a permanent record of it. Do keep in mind, though, that all e-files submitted with the Tax Filing Center will be available for future use through the Tax Filing Center. So we'll let this load up here. And this is asking me, since I'm in a test environment, if I'd like to test this in or if I'd like to submit this in a test mode. I will, to give you an idea what this looked like. And once we have this transmitted to the IRS, we're going to receive step 1 and step 2 confirmations here that the electronic return was created and that the electronic return was received. We're also going to receive one more notification once the e-file was approved by the IRS, and that's going to come in the form of an email notification to the user of the tax filing center. So as far as building the e-file report and getting it submitted to the IRS, the process is very simple. We're pulling information directly from the Dynamics GP or SL environment. We're giving you the ability to add information from outside sources, roll up vendors into one record for reporting purposes, ultimately giving you the ability then to make any edits to the data that's being populated on these reports and on these individual files for employees. Once this process is completed, we'll close out the tax filing center. I'll now show you how we can work with the year-end forms process. So inside the tax filing center, since we already have this tight integration with payroll and the payables module, you'll be able to extract that information and send it to our website called Greenshades Online, which is where we would work with all of the year-end forms. So at this point, we have the option to extract this data. I've already done so in a tax filing center. It can take a couple minutes since there can be a lot of data getting the information transferred over. So what I'm going to do now is pull up my online environment for you and show you how we would work with these through the web. So this is going to be our Greenshades Online website environment. I'm going to get logged in over here and click on the year-end forms tab across the top. This is the same place where you would go as an administrator for our employee services portal option. So for example, if you were using our benefits enrollment module and an employee submitted a qualifying life event, this is where you would approve that life event. This is where you would also put all of the settings in place. This is where you also are going to manage all of your year-end forms. So as the information is sent from your Dynamics GP or SL environment, the data is going to be coming into the year-end form module. It's going to be creating the individual records, which you'll have access to in the hosted environment for at least a year. You can download all of these forms to keep a permanent copy for your records, and do all reprints on blank paper because these forms are created in a PDF format. When using our system, there is never a need for buying pre-printed forms since they're created as PDFs. So I have some 1099 information in here from a previous tax year that I'll pull up and show you. What else is neat is the way that we keep these separated as different form sets is what we call them. So if you're working with different types of 1099s, you can see in this environment we have 1098s, 1099 miscellaneous, 1099R, and W-2s. If we have different EINs that we're processing these for, or different types of forms, they'll be all separated out so you can manage them easily. We also have really neat options for the administrators to use where we can assign certain form sets to certain administrators. As you can see, this 1098T tax form workspace is something I do not have access to. So if we want somebody to just be in charge of our 1099 miscellaneous files, we can do so. So what we'll do is we'll go into the 1099 workspace over here, give you an idea of how this site looks and how we would manage everything on the 1099 side. So when we're going through the distribution process, we're really just going to follow this checklist. As you complete options, they'll be checked off. So if you have multiple administrators with access to one of these workspaces, they won't complete the same part of the process more than once. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. Step number 1, complete the company setup. Since we have the direct integration with the Dynamics environment, we're going to be able to pull this over and pre-populate it for you. Just like with the e-file return, though, you're going to have the ability to edit any data. Let my site load up here just a minute, and you'll see that we're pulling over official company name, company EIN, and then ultimately allowing you to make or set a contact. On the next screen, once we load, you'll see that we're able to set administrators on this site. So this is where we would be able to give full access to other administrators or limited access to other administrators in the organization. Once we click continue, it's going to take us back to the home page. So I'm just going to we'll continue on through. Once we complete step number 1, it's time to resolve any warnings with forms. So earlier I mentioned that we did a full TIN verification. If you use our electronic distribution option, you can see over here that we do have 2 warnings. Those warnings are going to be that the TINs have not been verified. So if we click this edit option, we're going to pull up this little blurb here and let you know that you can use our software to match the TINs for free. There is no cost of using this service. If you use us for year-end uploads, this is included automatically. Once we start this verification, we'll receive any notifications from the IRS if we have any mismatched TINs. Moving down, we'll see all of the totals for the miscellaneous forms. This is going to give us a breakdown of the number of vendors and then all the details for each of these boxes. Once you click this and verify that this is correct and finish, you'll be taken back to the home screen for the year-end forms. So the last step that we have here when working with year-end forms online is to distribute all of the 1099s to the vendors. So we have a couple options here since these are created as PDFs. You can download and print batches of these throughout the year. So we put the 1099s up whenever you transfer the data from your Dynamics environment to our site, and we keep them hosted online through December 31st of the same year. So you can come out at any time and download a batch that contains all the 1099s in a single workspace. In January, though, you have the ability to ask us to mail all of those 1099 returns if you don't want to print them off. So you can print those 1099s onto blank perforated paper and hand them out to your vendors or mail them to your vendors yourselves, or you can ask Greenshades to print everything for you. Again, we mail over 1 million 1099s and W-2s annually. So if you want to come out here, you'll click the New Order option. You'll ask to include all tax forms in this workspace. We'll continue on and give you the details for this batch. And then ultimately at the end, give you the ability to choose what type of 1099 paper that you want to have everything printed on, and then ask Greenshades to print and mail these forms. We'll do all of the printing, put them in an envelope, put a stamp on them, and send them directly to the vendors with a return address of your organization. So at this point, that concludes my presentation on the 1099 process on how we will be handling all of the e-filing, how we'll be handling the distribution of the 1099s and the management of the 1099 individual copies on the administrator sides. I'll pass this back over to Paris, and then I believe we'll have a question section in just a moment.
Okay, thank you very much. We do have a few questions here. Let me, first of all, they're asking if this will work with Dynamics 2010.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. And then how do you access the Greenshades Tax Filing Center? So how do you access that?
It gets installed as a chunk file right inside of Dynamics GP or SL. So you go through the routines, the main menu in Dynamics, and access it through the routines either under the payroll or the payables module.
All right, let's see. Looks like I run payroll in-house with Dynamics. Can you explain how the Affordable Care Act tools work? Yeah, we did that already.
Okay.
Explain that a little bit. And then can you help with 1099 e-file submissions to states as well as the IRS?
Yeah, we create the e-file specification for the IRS. However, there is a program called the combined filing for the state and federal program. So what you do is you indicate that you want to have these 1099 files forwarded on to the states that you're choosing, and the IRS does that once they receive the e-file that we've created.
Okay. One other question is, how long does it take to implement?
The implementation's very quick because all we're doing is pulling data from GP. We're not adding data or looking to have any data created. So we do a 15-minute installation session with you, and then we hold an hour-long training session. We can technically go from a paid invoice to an e-file created in the same day.
Oh, okay. That works out good. All right, and then, nope, I think that's all the questions. We'll give it a moment. If there are any other questions, just type them in the dialog box. And give it a moment here. Nope, looks like we're done with questions. We'll move forward here. Just so you know, Greenshades is offering a 15% discount on your total Greenshades purchase to all webinar attendees. So be sure to contact us. So I'll give you an email address to contact us, and we need it purchased before the end of the year here. So, okay. And also, I just want to let you know that MIG does offer support contracts. So most of our customers are on support contracts now, and the rest of them are slowly moving there. We put a contract in place because it's a little more convenient than having to pay individual invoices throughout the year. And there's additional features, including training on some of them and some other things that are also included with support contracts. You only pay for it once a year, and also, you get priority support as well. So these are things that work out really, really good for folks. And they're fixed rate plans, so it makes it easy to budget. And at the end of this webinar, there will be a survey. If you guys could please take the survey. It's designed to help us evaluate and improve all our webinars. And if you please take a moment to provide our feedback, we'll be very appreciative of it. Thank you. And then I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thanks to everyone for attending. And remember, if you are taking this for any CPE credit or what have you, you feel free to email us at info@mig.com. And then also, if you want to take advantage of this 15% offer for Greenshades, definitely email us there as well at info@mig.com, and we'll be sure to contact you and get this. Well, we have one more question that popped up here. The question is, how can we find out the price? And my advice would be contact us at info@mig.com, and we can set up a call to discuss it with a consultant from Greenshades and one of our consultants, and we can get a statement of work put together to give you the implementation cost. So with that, thank you very much, and everybody have a great day.